Hi. Good afternoon. My talk today is inspired in a convoluted way by Kim Kardashian. and let me tell you why and how. I'm right now writing a book about America. The book will be called The American Alphabet. And this is a book about the America I know, the America I like and dislike, the America I understand and I don't fully comprehend, about the America my American friends are proud of, and the America that my American friends are ashamed of. And it will be built around the skeleton of alphabet. So I submitted to my publisher a list of approximately 50 plus entries. And the publisher in principle liked what I submitted, but they said there is one glaring omission. You must have forgotten about Kim Kardashian. And I reacted more or less the way you reacted, namely, they must be kidding, yes? No, but they were damn serious. And since I respected the people that I dealt with, I decided to do some homework. And in the process, I discovered that the Financial Times named Kim Kardashian among the women who shaped the year 2014. And a Vogue magazine said that she redefined the women's beauty. And then I learned that she released the video entitled "How to Fit Your Jeans by Friday," and the video sold in millions of copies. So I concluded that the publisher was right and I was wrong. Yes, and clearly the success of Kim Kardashian is beyond any dispute. But when you start thinking about the sources, the genesis of the success, the sources are somewhat controversial, let me put it that way, and I'm not sure whether they are replicable. So I decided to talk to you today about what I believe are keys to success. I selected 7. Which are A, replicable, and B, they apply both to business and to your personal life. So let me start with a historical picture. I wonder how many of you remember what important development event took place on January 1st, 1962 in London. Well, I'm sure that some of you know, but most of you might not know given the age. Well, so on January 1st, 1962, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Pete Best, later known as the so-called Fifth Beatle, he was later replaced by Ringo Starr, they traveled from Liverpool to London to audition for Decca Records. In less than an hour, the Beatles performed 15 songs, 3 of them original. Decca didn't like it. They said, guitar bands are going out of fashion, and the Beatles have no chance in show business. Well, the conclusion is pretty obvious, and this conclusion is the first key to success, namely, don't take no for the answer. I live in Silicon Valley, and the man who is a hero of the valley is a man called Elon Musk, who is sometimes labeled as the Edison of the 21st century. Elon, he runs Tesla, which is the most successful electric car maker. But Elon also started and runs the company called SpaceX. He makes rockets. He actually substitutes for NASA. And today, rockets made by Elon Musk carry a cargo to International Space Station. And I think that before very long, he will probably produce the capsule that takes humans to the outer space as well. Elon believes very strongly that the Earth is very fragile. The planet Earth is very fragile, and that it can be destroyed as a result of hitting the asteroid, or we may destroy it through our irresponsible economic activity, or finally someone may push consciously or unconsciously the wrong button, and we may disappear as a human race. And therefore, he believes very strongly, we should hedge our bets, and we should establish the extraterrestrial colony. And so far, I agree with him totally. Where Elon and I disagreed when it came to the location of this outer space human colony. He believes very strongly it should be Mars. I know close to nothing about space exploration, but 12 years ago, I was a guest of NASA in Mountain View. And as a result of this visit, I learned the following knowledge. A, Mars is highly inhospitable to humans. B, it is so far away that by the time we get there, our bones and our muscles will suffer. And C, it is highly unlikely that we'll be able to return. So when I chatted with Musk and I said, Elon, why the heck Mars? It is impossible. And Musk very politely, but very sternly, took me on. And he said, imagine that we are having this conversation in 1969. Neil Armstrong just landed on the moon. The humanity is exhilarated. And you and I ask 1,000 people the following question. What is more likely to happen in 40 years? A, we land on Mars. B, every other humans carry around this kind of equipment that allows you to communicate with distant land, take a picture, and process more information than currently available computers. And he said, I assure you, and I had to agree with him, that more than 99% will say the first option, namely landing on the Mars, is more likely to happen than half of humanity having this kind of device. And the opposite happened. So, he said, and I think he's absolutely right, the definition of what is possible, what is not, changes with time. So that brings me to the second key to success. Challenge the status quo. Do it wisely. In other words, if you are driving in the street of Warsaw, Paris, or New York, don't drive on the left side only to prove that you can challenge the status quo. Or don't debate when people are telling you that 2 + 2 = 4. I mean, that wisdom, accept, but see what can be done differently. You know, I spent more than 10 years working for Citibank in San Francisco and in New York. And for 3 out of these 10 years, I carry, as the only employee of the then largest financial institution, the business card that had a word champion. My title was Global Benchmarking Champion. Benchmarking, for those of you who are not unfamiliar with the term, means searching for, identifying, adopting, or adapting the best practices regardless of where they reside. And we don't have enough time, but I could tell you about the stories how the pharmaceutical giant Johnson & Johnson learned from Indianapolis 500, the car racing, or Xerox learned from manufacturers of tent. General Electric, the only company that was a component of the initial Dow Jones and remains the component of Dow Jones until today, made it into an important part of the culture, learning from others, plagiarizing, copying. In late 80s and early 90s, the chairman of GE, Jack Welch, would proudly, in a letter to shareholder, announced, last year we learned this and this from Toshiba, or we adopted this practice from Westinghouse. So the third key to success is learn from the best, copy. Don't open the doors which are already open. I was fortunate enough to meet many great leaders, and most of them were great listeners. I remember meeting the chairman of Pepsi-Cola. His name was Wayne Calloway. Wayne was a man of few words, but he was a great listener. I remember, I didn't experience it myself, but people from Pepsi were telling me the following story. One day, Calloway met with one of the mid-level executives in a cafeteria. The other guy was so paralyzed by fear that he didn't utter a single word. And when the coffee was served, Calloway said, well, that was interesting. Why don't we continue this conversation in my office? He believed very strongly, and he said it on numerous occasions, that the Creator gave us a pair of ears and one mouth for a reason, and we should use them in the same proportion. And I remember, since when I was given the job of benchmarking a champion, neither the organization nor I had a vague idea what it was. So I spent first 6 months traveling around the globe, learning from people who were much better. And then I sat down with the chairman of Citibank, John Reed, and I said, I had a half a page with conclusions. I said, that's what I learned, that's what we should be doing. And he said, fantastic. Next month, I will bring top 15 guys from around the globe, and you will tell them what to do, why to do it, and how to do it. I said, no, John, it wouldn't work. These guys, this top 15, each of them has thousands and thousands of people report to them. They have huge budgets, and I'm not credible enough. They wouldn't believe if I said that day follows night. It wouldn't work. And Reed said, you might have a point. Why don't you bring Peter Drucker, it was then a #1 management guru, or Milton Friedman, Nobel Prize winner. I said, John, it would not work either. It should be you. And he said, no, it's too bad. I cannot do it for a variety of reasons. A, I don't understand it well enough. And secondly, I have a meeting on the day that I want them to be here. I have a meeting with Prime Minister of Japan. I cannot do it. I said, well, what are our solutions? He said, well, that's your deal. You have to come up with the solution. I said, the only other chance we have is to find a senior executive in an American company who believes in this approach and who flies a bigger plane that the other guys fly. And I was lucky enough, I found and managed to convince the CEO of Texas Instrument. Texas Instrument at the time was the winner of Baldrige Award, which was the highest award in America for performance improvement company. He flew his own plane. He was fantastic. So that is the consecutive key to success, namely communicate, but make sure that the messenger is credible. I knew I didn't like it, but I knew that at that time, I wouldn't be a credible messenger of this news. And then another lesson also learned from GE, although I could have learned it from many other companies, is that change, which is frequently necessary, is usually painful. And people find different ways to avoid change. And Jack Welch and his disciples convinced me that the best way to start the company or human on a way to change is to build the burning platform, to build the vision of what is likely to happen if we don't change. And that's my sixth key to success, namely build a burning platform, a picture of what is likely to happen if you don't change. I don't know whether you had time this morning to listen to the news or read the newspaper, but if you did, I'm sure that you were overwhelmed by bad news. You know, a war, possibility of war, destruction, disease, hurricane. We are bombarded by bad news, partly because bad news sell, okay? The good news, the only good news that makes front page of newspapers is when the local team, sport team, wins. Otherwise, it's the bad news to prevail. And it sometimes is damn difficult to maintain sanity and a positive outlook. And that's why I would strongly advise you to seek people with positive energy. There are many of them around, and surround themselves with them. So that brings me to the end of the list. So let me repeat quickly what I believe to be 7 keys to success that can be applicable to a business or to your private life. Don't take no for the answer. Challenge status quo. Copy the best. Listen. Make sure that you communicate, but that the communicator is credible. Build the burning platform for change, and try as much as possible to surround yourself with people with positive energy. That's it. So good luck on your trip to success. Thank you.
We talk about change all the time, and one of the things that I quite often like to draw when I'm attempting to explain it to people is that if we have technological change as an exponential curve and just progress of society, quote unquote, as a linear curve.
Lagging, usually.
The exponential curve has just overtaken, in terms of our awareness, in terms of our consciousness, the flat line, and we are starting to feel that things are changing much faster than they ever have. Given this kind of upheaval that we're actually experiencing, how important do you think is the emphasis or an emphasis on these soft skills, essentially what you're talking about, as opposed to hard skills which we learn at school and we're supposed to carry with us through our lives?
Well, I think that Elon Musk put it very, very nicely. In other words, we have to be emotionally prepared for things that will hit us, that are beyond our radar screen. In other words, and if we recognize that the definition of what is possible, what is not, changes with time, then in a way we are ready to encounter something totally new. But again, there is always someone who sees something that we haven't seen yet, and that's why I think that having the antenna permanently up is one of the ways not to be caught with your pants down.
Mm-hmm. 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 Thank you very much. Andrzej
you.
Lubowski.